Griffith is a piece of shit. We all know that. He was deliberately written to be an a-hole. He's done some of the most heinous things I've ever seen an antagonist do. But the problem is that I can understand where he's coming from, even relate to him. And I'm not the only one. I've seen tons and tons of people online arguing that Griffith was not wrong, or at the very least, not entirely at fault. And that got me thinking. Why? Is it because he's a well-written character, or because he has that leader of the Hawks charisma, or maybe because it's something deeper, something so fundamentally human that it resonates with us on a subconscious level? Or maybe it's just me and I'm just a piece of shit too. Hello and welcome back, my filthy weebs. It's your friendly neighborhood degenerate Kaishi at your service. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether Griffith was right or wrong. I mean, I am, but we'll talk about that later, because the focus of this video will be on why do people argue in defense of Griffith even after everything he's done. So buckle your seatbelts and hold on to your panties, because we're going on one hell of a bumpy ride with Frederick, Uncle Pecos, Nietzsche, and Fight Club's Tyler motherfucking Durden. Also, spoilers, people. We got spoilers up in them hills over yonder. The entire life of Griffith, from his childhood in the slums to being the savior of humanity, can be divided into three distinct periods. His life as a human, as a member of the God Hand, and as the ultimate being, which are marked by two drastic transformations. First, his ascension to God Hand and birth as femto into the astral world, and second, his rebirth into the physical world as the ultimate being. Now, these transformations are the reason many people, including myself and many of you, low-key relate to Griffith. Yes, these transformations. Do I have your attention yet? Good! Well then, allow me to explain. During the apocalypse, when Griffith rejects his humanity for that God Hand membership card, he essentially undoes everything he did in the first part of his life. What he achieved, what he became. In other words, his own self. He founded the Band of the Hawk, he sacrifices them to the apostles. He befriended Guts and even gave him the honor of being his commander and right-hand man. And then he humiliates him by raping the woman he loves right in front of him. But the act that really drives home this theme of undoing of self is the rape of Casca. He does it not only to hurt and humiliate Guts, but also to undo what he did in the past. We know that Guts saved Casca from a rapist noble when they were young. And not only that, he gives her a sword and a place among the Hawks. The sword symbolizes her taking control of her own life. She's no longer the defenseless little girl. She is the one who has the power to protect herself and even others. This is how much he influenced her entire life. So much so that she dedicated that life to his dream. And what happens in the apocalypse? 1, he defiles her as opposed to how he saved her before. And 2, her mind reverts back to that of a defenseless, helpless child. In other words, exactly how she was when Griffith found her the first time. All of her growth as a person that was catalyzed by Griffith is now gone. Things come full circle. Yeah, Casca wasn't the only one who came. Ow, ow, I'm sorry. It was a joke. It was a joke, people. Jesus. Now, this undoing of all he ever did, this destruction of self, is what we relate to. The reason is that it's cathartic. Just think about it. All his life, Griffith tried to hold on to his dream, always planning, always vigilant, thinking one step ahead of everyone else, even doing things that he didn't want to do. All that is very taxing and mentally and physically demanding, weighing him 24/7. And when he gets the chance, he just lets everything go. That feeling of letting go of your attachments and responsibilities is not only cathartic, it's downright sublime. It has a certain allure of freedom. Griffith's working upwards one step at a time can be used as an allegory of the daily grind that we in this postmodern world are very familiar with with in our daily lives. And in the deep dark part of our mind, we too, given the chance, wish to break free of our responsibilities. And this is described in the best possible way in Fight Club, one of my favorite films of all time. The narrator has an obsession with his material possessions and uses them to give meaning to his otherwise insignificant existence. To him, these material things are what make him who he is. He has it all, even the glass dishes with the tiny bubbles and imperfections, proof that they were crafted by honest, simple, hard-working indigenous peoples of wherever. It's only when his alter ego, Tyler Durden, who in his mind is the ideal version of himself, destroys his possessions by blowing up his condo, that he is able to let go of his obsession and accept the futility of his own existence.
It's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything.
Similar to how Griffith becomes the idealized version of himself by letting go of his humanity and becoming rapey Batman. The quote-unquote fall of both the narrator and Griffith have one thing in common: catharsis, which is something we all desire. However, there is one crucial difference between the narrator and Griffith. The narrator is disillusioned with the fake value he placed upon his own existence and is able to free himself from his obsessions, becoming a true active nihilist in the process. Griffith, on the other hand, is self-centered. His ideal version of himself is a narcissistic bastard. So even though it is a similar theme of catharsis, he doesn't let go of his dream, a very material obsession. He frees himself from his responsibilities but doesn't let go of this very material obsession, which is like having your cake and eating it too. And who doesn't want to have their cake and eat it too? This is where the genius of Miura lies. He subverts the very concept of catharsis and the sublime, just like he does with every other thing, good and evil, virtue and sin, even the god of the world of Berserk, subverting the concept of an all-knowing, all-good, benevolent entity to an unfeeling, uncaring, literal, fleshy machine. Now, because of that, the whole thing becomes something entirely different. Griffith gives in to his compulsions and relinquishes everything that requires an effort. His relationship with others, the band of the hawk, the daily grind up the ladder, and only wants that sweet, sweet reward, that shiny new castle. This compulsion is very, very human. We understand it very well because we too have a desire by nature to get the biggest reward with the smallest effort, and that is why we understand Griffith. Now, in his second transformation, Griffith is reborn into the material world as the ultimate being. Now, first of all, this is one of my most favorite arcs in the entirety of anime and manga. I love Miura's take on the vices of institutionalized religion and different people's interpretation of sin and virtue. The villain of the arc, Father Mosgus, is amazing. And not to mention, the whole thing is told through the perspective of Farnese, who herself is a woman of God and has just started questioning her own beliefs. By now you must be thinking, Kai, you idiot, why are you telling us that? It's got nothing to do with the video. Well, I'm telling you that because I wanted to give a shout out to my boy Shin Itagaki for doing the Berserk adaptation justice. Thank you, my man. If I could give you an Oscar, I would. No, I would give you a Nobel Prize. Thank you. Thank you very much, you bitch-ass motherfucker. Now, Griffith as the ultimate being has a certain set of qualities. He always was charismatic as a human, but after his rebirth, he became something beyond human understanding. An entity that was above the rest of humanity. To call him charismatic would be a gross understatement. The man was able to inspire humans and monsters to fight side by side and live in harmony. He challenged the status quo of not only the physical world, but also the astral plane, and flipped it on its head. In this way, Griffith is similar to Nietzsche's Übermensch. The Übermensch, which literally means beyond human, sometimes translated as Superman, is, according to Nietzsche, someone who can establish his own values in the world of others. He can influence the lives of others and affect history indefinitely. Griffith ticks all of these boxes, so he's the Übermensch, right? Well, not exactly. Like everything else, Miura also subverts the concept of Übermensch. The one key difference between Griffith and the Übermensch is that, according to Nietzsche, the Übermensch is someone who is willing to risk all for the sake of enhancement of humanity. Whereas Griffith wants to live in a castle and bang the princess. Aww, little baby boy. He is too self-centered and materialistic to be the Übermensch, even though he has all the qualities of being an Übermensch. Classic Miura. And just to clarify, he's also not the last man, which is Nietzsche's antithesis to the Übermensch, because the last man is a passive nihilist who desires comfort and is incapable of creating anything beyond oneself in any form. In other words, Discord mods. So Griffith is Miura's satirical commentary on Nietzsche's Übermensch, because it is an idealistic concept and cannot be achieved realistically speaking. We can strive towards it and become better human beings, but on the other hand, human vices such as compulsion, worldly desires, and selfishness may get the better of us, and the result would be this bitch. But that is exactly why Griffith in the third phase of his life is so much more relatable, because he represents the dark desires of the human mind, being better than others, dominance, recognition, and most of all, making the world revolve around you. So Griffith isn't relatable because he did nothing wrong, he's relatable because he represents our fundamental flaws as human beings. He represents our temptations. So was Griffith wrong? Absolutely. And nothing you say will ever justify everything he did. I will, however, talk about two very important points that Griffith apologists bring up every chance they get. 1. Griffith goes to see Princess Charlotte, and is imprisoned and tortured only because he is heartbroken over Guts leaving. This is literally the most batshit crazy argument I have ever heard in my entire life. Was Guts his mommy? Huh? Could he not sleep without cuddling with mommy at night? Aww. Listen here, you little shits. First of all, Guts didn't owe him anything. He fought his battles, he got him into the castle, assassinated someone like a coward, something that goes against his way of life, even had to murder a child. He didn't owe him shit. And second of all, Griffith wasn't heartbroken because of Guts leaving. He realized that there was someone who was not infatuated with his charisma. Not only that, but he was also better than him and beat him on his own terms. His ego was hurt because he lost control over one of his pawns. No, he realized he never had control over him in the first place. And he didn't go to Charlotte to seek emotional support. He went to assert dominance and show his control over a figure of authority, a member of the royal family, a f***ing princess. And point number 2, Griffith brought peace to the world. No, he made a world that he wanted. He created a kingdom to rule. The peaceful world was just a byproduct of that. If creating a kingdom for himself had meant creating a hellscape in which every living being suffered for all eternity, he would have willingly done so. So don't give me that savior of the world crap. There is no doubt that Griffith is the living embodiment of the human bowel movement, but the reason we relate to him or even try to justify him is because we understand his psyche and subconsciously realize that we also have those same base desires. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that we are fundamentally evil, because thoughts and ideas don't always manifest themselves into action. Temptation is a part of being human. It doesn't mean that we'll always give in to our temptations like Griffith did. Not if we have our moral values straight, which I'm pretty sure you do because you're a wonderful human being. I know that because you made it to the end of the video. So let me know in the comments below what you think of this video. Also, I'm not a philosopher. I mean, duh. I make stupid anime videos. So if I said something stupid, just leave it down there as well. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.